Hi guys, it's Presley. We are going to do a flip lesson to continue your notes while I'm home with kid number one and she gets over a fever and the chills a whole bit. I'm hoping this is not flu, but I'm also hoping that if it is, she's got the weekend to recover. So we're going to pretend like I'm there and do the lesson as a flip lesson. Alright, so you left off on your notes talking about the new kind of concepts that come out of the Industrial Revolution, things like John Stuart Mill and ideas of socialism and things like that. That should have been the end of the day yesterday. All right. If you did not complete that, remember it's chapter, I believe it's 24, sections 2 and 4 in the Blue World History book that can help you fill in that hole. Today we're going to be talking about the unifications of Italy and Germany. So kind of what's going on in the rest of Europe while England is doing the Industrial Revolution. Alright, so Italy and Germany as regions have a long, long history, but as nations they're both very young. Both kind of experienced unification around the year 1900, so they're really less than 150 years old. They're even younger than the United States. It's the French Revolution and concepts of nationalism that grow out of that Congress of Vienna that really kind of spark unification. We're going to start with Italy. So during the early 1800s, Italy is dominated by foreign rulers. If you remember from your Congress of Vienna activities, northern Italy is ruled largely by Austria. There's the Papal States in the middle, and then there's all these kind of tiny kingdoms and principalities. But there are going to be three things that really unify Italy. The first one is customs, traditions, and language. That's one together. Customs, traditions, and language. The second one that helps unify Italy is a growing middle class that wants easier trade. And the last thing that draws it together is religion, particularly the Catholic religion. And that's probably the most important of the unifying factors. So your three factors are customs, meaning traditions and language, a growing middle class that wants easier trade, and religion. So when it comes to unification of Italy, it is the Kingdom of Sardinia that's going to lead the way. The King of Sardinia is Victor Emmanuel II. He appoints this minister called Camillo Cavour. Cavour is really this incredibly savvy diplomat, and he figures out a way to get England and France to team up with him against Austria. Well, England and France and Italy together against Austria basically means Austria loses and gets removed from northern Italy. So northern Italy is now independent after this moment. In the south, a peasant, so to speak, by Giuseppe Garibaldi is going to organize a navy, and they're going to get rid of their Spanish oppressors. Garibaldi, in a rather surprising move, claims himself that he has no business being a ruler, goes to Emmanuel II and says, hey dude, why don't you take both pieces, unite them together, you seem to know what you're doing. And this action of Emmanuel taking the reins for the southern part of Italy is what counts as the modern unity of the country. And that's kind of the end of Italian unification. So you guys haven't had a whole lot to write yet, so I'm thinking it's going to go pretty fast. There's more to write with Germany, but again, we'll hit several slides today. So Germany, on the other hand, sorry, is all of these crazy, like almost 3 dozen, actually almost 40, different small principalities or individual countries with their kings, and it's really dominated by 2 major states, Prussia and Austria. And the thing about Prussia that you want to write down is Prussia has the largest industry and army. So Prussia, industry, army. The second big German state is Austria. Austria had a lot of influence with this parliament that kind of helped unite these 39 states into kind of a confederation. So you've got Prussia, who has a lot of industry and army, and you've got Austria, sorry about that, that has a lot of influence with the government. Guess what's going to happen? There are going to be 2 major things that help unite Germany. The first one is going to be their trade union, which is called the Zollverein. 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 All the states are members of this, and they're tied economically to each other. The second thing that's going to really help unite Germany is a cultural pride in German writers. There are a lot of famous writers that kind of helped encourage us, but the two world famous ones are Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm. These are the Grimm fairy tale guys. They didn't write all these stories and come up with them themselves. What they did was they went around and collected all the stories that moms told their kids at bedtime. All of these kind of cultural stories, like the American equivalent would be like a story of Paul Bunyan or Johnny Appleseed. These kind of cultural mythology type stories. So they collected stories about German mythology. Went around, wrote them down, and then put them together in a book. In fact, I have a earlier edition. If you went and go and grab a copy of Grimm's Fairy Tales today, it's been cleaned up. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about Monday, is that the Grimm Fairy Tales that if you were to go to Borders and buy today, or Borders doesn't exist anymore, does it? Barnes & Noble, and buy a copy today, it's going to be the PG version. The version that I have stuffed in a cabinet, and I'll get it out when we get there Monday, we'll talk about it, is a 1914-ish version. I don't know how the heck I got my hands on that, but I did get an earlier copy as a kid. And it's a little grimmer, to use colloquial language. You probably heard the story about Cinderella not being Disney, and that's kind of what we're going to do Monday. We're going to talk about some of your most common fairy tales and how Disney has cleaned them up, or society in general has cleaned them up, and then we're going to kind of play with that a little bit. Religion is going to be a different story with Germany than it was in Italy. In Italy, it brought them together. In Germany, it's going to totally divide them. The southern half of Germany, which included Austria, is Catholic, which kind of makes sense because Austria is closer to Rome, so Catholic Austria. The northern half of Germany, where Prussia's at, is Protestant. So there's going to be an ideological split between these two, and you can guess that's going to mean war. So Prussia's the leading state for unification of Germany. This guy, Otto von Bismarck, better known as OVB. Otto is O-T-T-O, and then V-O-N-B-I-S-M-A-R-C-K. Otto von Bismarck was the man who's most responsible for uniting Germany. And the next picture, I always think this guy looks like the guy who's always trying to shoot Robin Williams in Jumanji. I always feel like his character's kind of modeled after OVB. Even though he's British.